Chapter 391, The breeze is still, the waves are calm. The guilds felt a bit dispirited towards the dungeon records. There was no way to stop Lord Grimm from forming a dungeon team. They felt like no matter how hard they tried, second place would be the highest that they could ever achieve. There was no fun in that. As a result, some of the teams didn't care about having 5 players in a team before dungeoning. 8 players could be split into 2 teams of 4. A team of 4 was enough to beat a dungeon. However, Blue Brook Guild had 1 less player because Thousand Creations had left. 7 players split into 2 teams meant 1 team of 3 and 1 team of 4. Unless there was no other choice, they didn't want the team of 3 to struggle on their way through the dungeon. You guys form one first. Bound Boat and I will look for players from other guilds to party with. Blue River was a kind guild leader. He made arrangements for the subordinates first before thinking about himself. I say that there won't be any other guilds to party with, Bound Boat said. Blue River stared blankly before remembering. In Thousand Waves Lake, besides God Ye Choose group, only Blue Brook Guild and Tyrannical Ambition hadn't finished their 3 runs for the day. Aren't there players from Tyrannical Ambition? They just happen to have 3 extra. We can form a party with them, Blue River said as he messaged Cold Night. But it turned out that the other side had split their 8 players into 2 teams of 4 and the 2 teams had already entered the dungeon. It seems like our only option is to struggle our way through the dungeon with just 3 players, Bound Boat said helplessly after learning about the situation. Blue River also sighed. The 7 of them could only split into 1 team of 4 and 1 team of 3. The 2 teams entered the dungeon. In the end, Blue River ignored Yi Shu's invite. Chen Guo saw Yi Shu's invite get rejected. Why did Yi Shu want to invite him? It was because their team had Su Mucheng, whose free time was limited. There were 3 reasons for why Su Mucheng had a high level. One reason was because when she first started, Yi Shu had spent time to carry her through. Another reason was because she was good at the game. Her leveling speed was a bit faster than normal players. The third reason was because of the Christmas event. However, even though Yi Shu, Su Mucheng and Tang Ru had gained by far the most in the Christmas event, it could still be seen from the level standings that no matter how skilled they were, they couldn't compare to the top guild's 24/7 leveling. Yi Shu saw that in the end, only 4 players would enter the dungeon. Su Mucheng's character wouldn't be able to do this run, so she would definitely fall behind in experience. If she kept on doing this, she would naturally fall further and further behind. Chen Guo couldn't help but be concerned. If you guys go dungeon now, what about Su Mucheng? When she comes back tomorrow, she won't have anyone to dungeon with. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't wait for her. She doesn't have time tomorrow either. She has a match to play, Yi Shu said. She's so busy. It must be tough. Chen Guo felt her heart ache for her idol. It's not too bad. She doesn't spend too much time online. She can make it up with her skill, Yi Shu said. No matter how good she is, she can't compare to the top guild's 24/7 leveling. No, Chen Guo used to be a part of a top guild, so she knew of this, too. That's true, Yi Shu acknowledged. Actually, my chasing haze is at the maximum level and I've also just left the guild, so I don't have a set team to dungeon with. I can let her sit there for now. Chen Guo was speaking as if her tongue were in a knot. It wasn't at all like her usual unrestrained self. So you're saying, you can help her level? Yi Shu understood what she was trying to get at. Yes, Chen Guo nodded her head furiously. She was a bit excited. Playing on the same account as her idol, how fun would that be? You would have to keep on moving the card around. You won't find that annoying, Yi Shu said. Not at all. Not at all. Chen Guo shook her head furiously and became even more excited. This was another reason to be happy about. In Glory, the account was tied to the card. To get someone else to level it required handing over the account card. This would mean that she would be able to see her idol every day. Thinking of this, Chen Guo couldn't help but smile. Boss, how old are you? Yi Shu suddenly asked. What? Chen Guo couldn't understand why he asked this question. Her age. Didn't Yi Shu already know it? Boss, you're so old already, yet you're still acting like a little girl chasing stars, Yi Shu said. Are you looking to die? Chen Guo jumped up in anger. She looked around, but couldn't find anything she could grab to hit someone with. The mouse and keyboard in her hands were newly bought for her to use and she liked them very much. The monitor, too expensive. The chair, too big. Too much commotion wouldn't be good. Cough, cough. Your words make a lot of sense. If you help her level, you take a big load off of our shoulders. The guild's development is at a crucial moment right now. Boss's decision is very wise, Yishu hastily corrected himself. Tang Ru had turned to look at them and was holding back from laughing. Yishu's bunch of words had calmed Chen Guo down a lot. Chen Guo sat down, not knowing whether to laugh or to cry. Then how do you think we should do this? For leveling, my character is actually the most crucial. Boss, if you really care, help me level, Yishu said. Help you? Chen Guo's interest had clearly gone down. If it was before, she would have gone crazy from excitement if she could help Yichu level. But after knowing that Yichu was Yishu, Chen Guo's adoration for the god had weakened. Okay, she still agreed though. Don't sound so disheartened. My account is very fun to play. See, Yishu quickly switched forms for the myriad manifestation umbrella, showing what parts of Lord Grimm were fun. Got it, Chen Guo nodded her head. The myriad manifestation umbrella really was fun to play with. It was just that Chen Guo wasn't familiar with other classes. The few times that she had played on Lord Grimm were all played as if Lord Grimm were a gunner. If she was going to substitute level, then she could try some other things. Let me tell you something first. I can't play as crazily as you guys. When you're not using it and I get tired, I won't be leveling it, Chen Guo bluntly stated her condition. What if it was Sumu Cheng's account? Yishu asked. Chen Guo narrowed her eyes. Are you saying, how can I be compared to her? Yishu was helpless. He was clearly more of a god than Sumu Cheng. While Yishu chatted with Chen Guo, he was also playing in the Thousand Waves Lake dungeon. Thousand Creations and Horse Shooter were veterans. They didn't need Yishu to tell them much. His hands moved effortlessly and the Thousand Chances umbrella continuously switched forms. All sorts of low-level skills were used. He was definitely the team's nucleus. With him watching over the team and no beginners to mess things up, their team easily cleared the dungeon. At this moment, Blue River was feeling quite down. He had taken care of his subordinates as a kind guild leader, giving the position to be in a 4-player team to others. His dungeon run was filled with dangers and frustrations. In the end, they were unable to hold off the second boss. Someone made a mistake and the boss wiped their team out. The difficulty of the dungeon was much more difficult than leveling out in the wild. Dying was a very common occurrence. There was no benefit in dying to a dungeon. Players would still be penalized. At the start of the game, quite a few players criticized this setting. But Glory was 10 years old now. The veterans were completely used to this setting and were too lazy to say anything about it anymore. The only convenient part about dying in a dungeon was that after reviving, players would be sent to the dungeon entrance. They wouldn't be revived back in the city, where they would have to run back to the dungeon if they wanted to try again. Right now, the three were gathered outside of the dungeon entrance. They consoled themselves, while waiting for the critically ill state to wear off. At this moment, Blue River received another message from Yishu. Died? Blue River stared blankly. If his death had been known, could that mean that one of the two brothers in front of him were from the other side? How did you know? The level standings. Blue River immediately flipped open the level standings and looked. He hadn't leveled much on his account these past 5 days. With his death, his experience slid down. Lord Grimm and Tang Ru had surpassed him now. Oh, Blue River replied after looking at the level standings. We're lacking 1 player, Yishu repeated. Blue River stared blankly for a bit and then said to the other two, you, go with Lord Grimm's team. They have a spot there. Ah, that player was startled. Boundboat, you go with Flower Lantern's team. It seems like they're having some trouble without a cleric, Blue River said to Boundboat. Their team of 3 had a cleric, which would help keep them safe. However, because of the cleric, their damage output would be weak. But without a cleric, they weren't confident in beating the dungeon just through skill alone. This was why their team composition was a bit difficult to deal with. What about you? The two said nearly simultaneously. I haven't leveled in 5 days. Missing 1 day won't be a big deal. I'll go dungeon at Sin City, Blue River said to the two of them. He contacted Yishu and sent their guild member over. Oh, what about you? Yishu asked. I'll go look around somewhere else. Blue River was quite relaxed. You don't have a team? That means you have nothing to do. Why not help carry some players? Yishu suggested. Get out of here. I'm busy, Blue River set off. Yishu sent him some ellipses. No more words were said that night. After finishing the dungeon, everyone leveled at Thousand Waves Lake and everything was finally peaceful again. The top guilds were still a bit nervous, but after seeing that Lord Grimm really wasn't going to attack them because he had received their materials, they gradually began to relax. He would even say hi sometimes, when they came near. However, his greetings were too nasty. Their names were right there, but he never said them. He always yelled something like you died 2 times, you died 3 times, you died 4 times. What a god. He had even counted how many times the little shrimps had died. That was too improper. Everyone could only silently curse in their hearts. Chapter 392, What's so good about Excellent Era? A peaceful night passed. The nervousness that was felt from that day had calmed down. When the light came out and it was time for everyone to rest, the guild leaders suddenly received a message from Lord Grimm, don't forget tomorrow's materials. What? All of the guild leaders were taken by surprise. The wind whistled and roared and their hands trembled. They were unsure about how to reply. Another message soon followed, I'm just joking. F***CK, some of them accidentally typed it into the global chat. Those who didn't know about the situation didn't know the reason for the curse. Of course, those who knew about the situation knew who the curse was supposed to have been sent to. Everyone logged off and their substitutes came on. On Yishu's side, Chen Guo had been with him the entire time, enjoying the show and had even slept even later than Sumucheng did. When daylight came, she still hadn't gotten up yet. Tang Ru still had to go to work later that day, so she didn't delay and logged off in order to rest. Yishu leveled by himself for a while, up until Chen Guo woke up. In accordance with what they had discussed last night, Chen Guo took over his character to continue leveling. I'm telling you, again. If I don't want to play, then I'll stop, Chen Guo emphasized. Yeah, I know. I pretty much haven't done any of the quests yet, so you can do the quests while leveling, Yishu said. Okay, Chen Guo nodded her head and started her work as a substitute leveler. As someone who was straightforward with what she said, the reason Chen Guo stressed her words was because she had played Glory for many years. She had experienced practically everything in the game, so it was very easy to get tired and bored of playing by herself. Apart from special events, there were very few people who could patiently level the entire day like Yishu and Tang Ru could. Chen Guo felt like she would stop playing after 2 or 3 hours, which was a testimony to how well she understood herself. Whether it was doing quests or killing monsters, nothing was new to her. Sure enough, she quickly got bored. The only thing that allowed her to hang on for so long was because of the myriad manifestation umbrella. I'll stop once I finish this quest. Chen Guo carried this type of mentality with her and continued, all the way until Yishu got up. Chen Guo was still busy running about, doing a quest. She had no idea how many times she had said to herself, this is the last one. Once I finish this, I'm done. Not bad. You level very quickly. You really deserve to be called a veteran at the game, Yishu said. However, Chen Guo had her headphones on and was too focused on killing monsters to hear him. Boss, it's time to get off work. Yishu could only get closer and yell in her ear. Ah, Chen Guo leapt up in surprise. She turned her head and saw Yishu behind her. With a look of astonishment, she looked at the time. It was almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon already. Didn't you say you'd stop playing once you got tired? You had that much energy. Yishu saw the experience bar and knew that Chen Guo pretty much hadn't rested. If not, she couldn't have gained so much experience. Ah, yeah, Chen Guo said. You're still not tired? If you're not tired, you can continue, Yishu said. It's yours. Chen Guo got up. She was quite surprised when she left. When did so much time pass? She had gotten bored quite a while ago. What had allowed her to continue playing for so long? Chen Guo walked around in a circle. In the end, she came back to see what Yi Shu was doing. Yi Shu was just continuing to level, killing the monsters that she hadn't killed and doing the quests she hadn't completed. It was nothing out of the ordinary. There was nothing to say. Even so, Chen Guo still stood there stupidly for a long time. She discovered that her current situation was, leveling was boring, but not leveling was even more boring. Her interest in glory seemed to have entirely gone into the 10th server, into the 10th server's guild Happy, and into Lord Grimm, an important member of their future team. Unspecialized, Chen Guo scratched her head. If Lord Grimm really did appear in the Pro Alliance, what a sight that would be. Against the famous Valkyria, Desert Dust, Troubling Rain, and even One Autumn Leaf, how would Lord Grimm fare against them? Oh, you finished this quest, Yi Shu suddenly interrupted Chen Guo from her daze. Chen Guo looked at the quest Yi Shu was talking about and nodded her head in confirmation. Yeah, I finished it. Okay, Yi Shu didn't say anything more and continued with his business. Chen Guo pulled a chair over to the side and sat there like a general giving out orders. Even though she knew that she was only displaying her slight skill in front of an expert, she was still full of enthusiasm, especially when Yi Shu did as he was told. It was truly an amazing feeling of accomplishment. When dinner arrived, a different sort of excitement took over the internet cafe and it became even louder than usual. This was because it was another pro match day. Happy Internet Cafe projected Team Excellent Era's match today like a movie theater. This had already become a big feature of Happy. Whenever this day came, there would always be more customers than usual. Those at a computer had to play. As long as one didn't block another's view, then anywhere else was fine to stand around it. Today, after dinner, Chen Guo directed the employees to begin setting everything up. The broadcast began a few minutes before the match began and it was projected directly onto a screen. The host and the commentator were already chatting with each other. But once everyone heard the content, they felt like something wasn't quite right. The customers who were paying attention and watching the broadcast had already begun calling out. "Boss, what's going on?" Questions began being asked one after the other. "What do you mean, what's going on?" Chen Guo stood next to the projection screen with her hands at her waist. "Excellent Era. Today's TV broadcast isn't showing Excellent Era's match. Hurry and switch it to the online stream," someone shouted. The Glory Pro Alliance had a total of 20 teams. When match day came, 10 matches would be shown at the same time. The TV broadcast was limited. It would choose the most popular match, the match with a feature, or a match that had to be broadcast by contract. That was the best way to get ratings. For example, today, one of the matches was between Tiny Herb and Blue Rain. A match between Excellent Era and a weak team couldn't compare to this. If one wanted to watch Excellent Era's match, it could only be watched online. The online streams showed all 10 matches, so one could watch whichever match one liked. At Happy Internet Cafe, Chen Guo had always projected Excellent Era's matches, so the audience members were all loyal fans of Excellent Era. As long as there was an Excellent Era match, they wouldn't watch a match like the one between Tiny Herb and Blue Rain. But today, Happy Internet Cafe was projecting the TV broadcast, Tiny Herb vs Blue Rain, not the one everyone wanted to watch. Of course, they would hurry and remind the boss. Excellent Era is fighting Bright Green today. What's there to watch? Good matches can't be missed, so we're obviously going to watch Tiny Herb vs Blue Rain, Chen Guo said loudly. The entire audience was completely astonished. They had come for this special event and were undoubtedly all frequent customers. How could they not know that the beautiful boss of Happy was a loyal fan of Excellent Era? There were also rumors that she often fangirled over Su Mucheng. In private, it was quite a topic for discussion. But today, the extremely loyal fan actually said that there was nothing to watch in Excellent Era's match. Did some sort of devil curse her? After a moment of astonishment, someone finally yelled out, "Boss, don't joke with us. Hurry up and switch the match. It's about to start." Yeah, a bunch of shouts sounded out. Many of them thought that Chen Guo was only joking. There was no way they were going to miss Excellent Era's match. Who's joking? Today, we're showing Tiny Herb vs Blue Rain. Chen Guo's voice held no doubts, making them feel that she really wasn't joking. Excellent Era. Excellent Era. We want Excellent Era. Quite a few audience members protested intensely, shouting and yelling, whistling and booing, throwing around stuff. But Chen Guo didn't cower back. She rushed towards the projection screen and jumped onto a chair. We're watching Tiny Herb vs. Blue Rain. If you want to watch Excellent Era, go back home. The fans were clearly more loyal to Excellent Era than the internet cafe. Seeing that today, the boss really wasn't going to show Excellent Era's match, they became furious. Quite a few clamored, "I'm never coming back." After a few more shouts, the majority of the audience left. Some had even trashed the place, throwing mice and smashing keyboards, breaking all sorts of things. Chen Guo saw this, but she couldn't do anything to stop them. She didn't say anything as she sent them off. The remaining customers, besides those who weren't watching the match, were more mature. They wouldn't be so angry over something like this. The match wasn't going anywhere. If they wanted to watch Excellent Era, then they could just look up the match on the computers and watch. No. On the projection screens, the two powerhouses had already begun fighting. The internet cafe had turned cold and cheerless in a mess. Keyboards and mouses were on the ground. There were countless broken ones, too. Some of the monitors had been smashed. Luckily, the computers were locked inside the table, otherwise they would have been destroyed as well. The employees in the internet cafe quietly cleaned up. They were thinking that with the boss's temper, she might collapse from anger and were too scared to call out to her. Yi Shu got up from where he had been playing and walked to directly in front of the projection screen. He grabbed a chair and sat down in a comfortable position. His mouth moved. "You're very right. There's nothing good about Excellent Era's match today. Of course, you have to watch Tiny Herb vs. Blue Rain. They don't know what it means to appreciate a good match. The ma'am over there. Could you move to the side? You're blocking the screen." Ha! Still standing on the chair, Chen Guo unexpectedly laughed. After jumping down, she pulled over her chair and sat down next to Yi Shu without even wiping her chair. Cough! Yi Shu suddenly coughed. "What is it? Do you need to smoke?" Chen Guo narrowed her eyes. "No. Don't you think that we're sitting a bit too close?" Chen Guo raised her head and looked up at the gigantic projection screen. She nodded her head, a bit. "Let's hurry up and get farther away in case they feature Wang Jiaxi. If not, his two disproportionate eyes will scare us to death," Yi Shu said. Chapter 393, Absent-Minded. "Do you count that as a personal attack?" Chen Guo wanted to laugh, but she had to warn Yi Shu seriously, too. "No way. I'm just saying the truth. If you don't believe me, you can stay there," Yi Shu said as he moved his chair far away. Chen Guo hesitated for a moment. With the way Yi Shu said it, she felt like he was right and hastily lifted her chair and chased after him. By the time the two had found their new sitting positions, the individual matches were nearly over. The Blue Rain player beautifully comboed a Tiny Herb player to death, winning the victory for his team. Nice. When Chen Guo sat down, she saw the result and began shouting. "Which side are you rooting for?" Yi Shu couldn't help but ask. "Doesn't matter, Chen Guo." "Then why are you shouting so much?" "If they play well, then I cheer for them," Chen Guo explained calmly. The internet cafe was empty. Let alone match days, even normal days never had so few customers at peak hours. In the messy space, they were the only two people looking at the big projection screen. "If you're not rooting for anyone, the match is kind of boring to watch," Yi Shu said. "Then which side are you rooting for?" Chen Guo asked. "Me? I'm a pro, so I look at the match with a studying eye. Look, these guys will be our future opponents." Yi Shu pointed to the two pro players who had just finished their match. Chen Guo's spirit rose when she heard this, especially when Yi Shu said "R." It made Chen Guo feel like she had taken a step into the glory pro scene. The second match began. In the entire Happy Internet Cafe, there were still the only two people paying attention to the projection. The others who were watching the competition stayed at their computers, quietly watching Excellent Era's match. In truth, how could Chen Guo feel calm, seeing Happy Internet Cafe in such a state? Happy Internet Cafe had always appealed to Excellent Era fans because of its proximity to the club. Moreover, Chen Guo also happened to be a loyal fan of Excellent Era, so she was able to easily make the business into a gathering place for them. Her actions today had undoubtedly offended many loyal Excellent Era fans and had hurt her own brand. Chen Guo was worried about the road ahead. However, she wasn't the type of person to swallow her anger. Excellent Era had already turned into an enemy to her, and she wasn't willing to specially serve these Excellent Era fans. Her actions had been impulsive today, but if she had another chance, Chen Guo was sure that she would do the same. She was worried, but she couldn't let others see it, so she tried her best to show that she didn't care. Yi Shu, on the other hand, truly seemed like he didn't care at all. Amidst the mess, he watched the match as if nothing had happened. "Beautiful," Yi Shu suddenly shouted, almost scaring Chen Guo off her seat. She was pretending to enjoy the match and didn't want to show any weaknesses, so she immediately added, yeah. Beautiful." Her focus returned to the match. This time, Tiny Herb's player clearly held the advantage. Chen Guo had no idea why Yi Shu had shouted beautiful, and she couldn't ask him either. Controlling her temper, she watched as Tiny Herb's player dominated his opponent. When the highlight montage was shown, Chen Guo's question was answered. Tiny Herb's player had been losing, but was able to punish a mistake to turn the situation around, making even a god like Yi Shu praise him. In the third round, Chen Guo felt that it would be too embarrassing to get distracted again. But this time, when she watched, she accidentally glanced at Yi Shu and discovered that Yi Shu was the one to get distracted. He wasn't watching the projection screen. His gaze was on one of the customer's computer screens. This customer was watching Excellent Era's match. Chen Guo glanced at it and noticed that the one fighting on Excellent Era's side was Su Mucheng. The two people sitting right in front of the projection screen both turned their heads and squinted their eyes to see the Excellent Era match, naturally because they cared about whether Su Mucheng won or lost. In the end, Su Mucheng won the match beautifully. Excellent Era's opponent, Bright Green, was truly a low-tier team. Their goal was to stay in the alliance. The players in the team weren't that good and their accounts were relatively weak. Even on paper, the difference between them and an all-star like Su Mucheng was too great. Su Mucheng's performance was very steady and she won with relative ease. At that instant, the two spectators immediately turned back after seeing Su Mucheng's match. Both of them sensed what had happened. Cough. The two people lightly coughed. Just as one of them was about to say something, one of the internet cafe employees was deceived by boss Chen Guo's act and felt like the boss was abnormally calm today. The internet cafe had almost been ripped apart, but she didn't seem angry at all. As a result, the employee bravely went forward and reported their cleanup progress. "Got it. You can throw them away if they're broken. I'll have someone replace them tomorrow," Chen Guo calmly said after hearing how many items had been broken and continued to pretend as if nothing had happened. "Without discarding the old, there would be no coming of the new," Yi Shu recited. "Are you trying to console me?" Chen Guo asked. "No, I'm just saying a fact," Yi Shu said. At this moment, the individual competition between Tiny Herb and Blue Rain ended. Tiny Herb won 2 matches, gaining 2 points. Blue River won 1 match, gaining 1 point. Chen Guo had been too preoccupied with her thoughts to pay attention to the 3 matches and didn't have any impression of them in her head. After a short break, the group arena competition began. The commentator and honored guest began to get excited. They took out the players list for the competition and saw an extra name on Team Tiny Herb's side, Gao Yingji. If I remember correctly, before the All-Star weekend, Gao Yingji has never gone up on stage in an official match, right? The commentator asked. Correct. Though I'm sure everyone still remembers Gao Yingji's brilliant performance at the All-Star Rookie Challenge. It seems like his performance has finally won him a place for himself on Team Tiny Herb. The honored guest took the chance to start up a discussion. We just don't know whether or not Gao Yingji will appear in the final team competition. We don't have the players list for the team competition yet, the commentator said. If he can show the type of performance that he did during the All-Star weekend, I feel like he'll definitely be able to grab a spot on the main roster in the team competition. Tiny Herb has raised an amazing rookie. They really have. There's no one in the alliance at his age that can fight evenly with a top-tier god like Wang Jiaxi. And he even won. A single victory isn't enough to say whether Gao Yingji is better than Wang Jiaxi. But for someone to have such skill at his age, has there ever been a player like this in the alliance? The honored guest clearly hadn't done his homework in this area. He couldn't fill in this hole and could only evade the question embarrassingly. Luckily, the match had started and the commentator quickly switched topics and began to commentate the match. Gao Yingji. Is this kid really that good? Chen Guo asked Yi Shu. He's quite amazing, Yi Shu said. If he fights with you? Chen Guo asked. Ha ha, Yi Shu laughed, but didn't say anything. Tell me, Chen Guo chased. I have to see him in actual combat. It's hard to say, Yi Shu said. So you're saying even you aren't completely confident? Chen Guo asked. In the pro scene, there's no one who is absolutely confident, Yi Shu said. Oh. I usually say I'm 90% sure. I have to give myself some leeway, Yi Shu added. Chen Guo had no words to say. When the match started, it showed that Gao Yingji really had gained confidence from his match in the All-Star weekend. In this match, he performed outstandingly. However, Gao Yingji's amazing performance didn't win any big advantage because his opponent wasn't weak either. Team Blue Rain's Yu Feng was an all-star level player. Gao Yingji was still too green compared to him. In addition, the two sides had an absolute disparity on paper, their characters. Yu Feng's Berserker, Brilliant Edge, might not be a god-level account, but it wasn't far. In comparison, Gao Yingji's Witch, Kind Tree, was very far below being a god-tier character. Gao Yingji was being raised by Tiny Herb as the one to inherit Valkyria. Valkyria would be his character in the future. Team Tiny Herb didn't have any double witch strategies, so the club didn't spend much effort on Gao Yingji's Kind Tree. It could be said that they had made the account in passing while raising Gao Yingji. This type of character couldn't compare to an All-Stars account. It was true that Gao Yingji's brilliant performance in the All-Star weekend had won him confidence, but it had also made every team be cautious towards him. No one would underestimate him because he was an inexperienced rookie. Yu Feng had this attitude. It could be said that the reason why Gao Yingji looked more dominant was because of his outstanding performance. However, it would be better to say that it was because Yu Feng was letting him attack in order to get a better feel for him. After all, as a rookie that had never been in an official match, the teams only had very limited intelligence on him. At the All-Star weekend, they were able to see his skill. But what was his style like? What habits did he have? What type of skills did he like to use? These types of intelligence could only be slowly gathered. Without a good understanding of his opponent, Yu Feng's attitude in the match wasn't odd. Young people. As soon as they break free from their chains, they really are reckless in pushing forward. Yi Shu watched the match and sighed. He understood Wang Jiaxi's motive at the All-Star weekend. Chapter 394, Cross Swords. Who are you talking about? Chen Guo didn't understand. In esports, the pro players were all extremely young, so any of them could be considered as a young person, even for those old pros who were going to retire like Yi Shu. Yi Shu was showing off his seniority calling them young people, but Chen Guo really couldn't tell if he was talking about Gao Yingji or Yu Feng. She even though that he was talking more about Yu Feng. In Chen Guo's eyes, Gao Yingji was too young to even be considered as a young person. I'm talking about this future of glory. Yi Shu was still acting like he was talking to himself. What are you talking about? Chen Guo muttered to herself. This Yu Feng is playing more and more with substance, Yi Shu said again. He was never bad, Chen Guo said. She had some understanding of Yu Feng. He was an all-star level player and was considered as one of the top players in the pro scene. For famous players, even if she wasn't a fan of them, she would still know some information about them from their popularity and reports. He wasn't in the All-Star weekend last year, was he? He improved a lot this year, Yi Shu said. Oh, really? Chen Guo recalled. Last year's All-Star players, she couldn't remember them. In my opinion, Blue Rain's environment for growth is the best among all teams, Yi Shu said. What about Tiny Herb? Chen Guo couldn't help but ask. After all, Tiny Herb had raised Gao Yingji, a talent that was unrivaled in his age group. Tiny Herb, perhaps because of their champion status, the requirements for their rookies might be too harsh, Yi Shu sighed. He thought of Chao Yifan. Chow Yifan might not shine as brightly as Gao Yingji, but he was also an unpolished gem. If he was carved carefully, he could also mature. Tiny Herb must have seen something in him when they took him in. But they didn't raise him with care. It was truly a pity. Even though the players list for this match hadn't been completely revealed, with Chow Yifan's performance in the All-Star Weekend, Yi Shu doubted that he would be able to grab a spot in the main roster like Gao Yingji. During their discussion, the circumstance in the match had changed. Yu Feng, who was letting his opponent attack, finally found an opportunity to counterattack. His single move turned the tide and he began attacking relentlessly. The sudden suppression made Gao Yingji panic and he lost his cool. After all, this was only his first official match. Even though the rookie challenge at the All-Star Weekend had helped him win much confidence, the circumstances right now were different. The pressure and burden of an official match far surpassed a match that was just for show. Any new player would feel stifled in this situation. If everything went well, they might be able to perform well the entire time. But as soon as a bump in the road appeared, they might not be able to perform under the pressure. Gao Yingji's luck wasn't good either. He had to face an all-star player in his first match. From an experience and character point of view, he was at a disadvantage. Under a dominant performance, the opponent suddenly reversed the situation. It was hard to avoid having his mentality crumble. Whether or not his newfound confidence could help him hang on was up to him. Tiny Herb isn't look too good, no? Chen Guo saw it. If he doesn't take any risks, he won't be able to bring it back, Yi Shu sighed. From what he saw, Gao Yingji had already missed 3 opportunities he could have tried. Even though the opportunities weren't 100% guarantees, they were at least a chance for him break out from the predicament. Another one. Yi Shu silently thought. This time, Gao Yingji acted. Seizing the moment Yu Feng's character turned around, he used an extremely low and short-distance flying movement to enter Yu Feng's dead angle. Yu Feng woke up with a start and hastily turned around to attack, but Gao Yingji was one step faster. Kindtree swung his broom, sweeping Yu Feng into the air. It was a risky move and couldn't really be considered as an opportunity. This was a contest between reaction and hand speed. In this instant, Gao Yingji displayed his confidence and took back the initiative in one move. Not bad. Yi Shu praised with a smile. And at this moment, the person who was much more nervous and excited was obviously Tiny Herb's captain Wang Jiaxi. He understood Gao Yingji better and understood the importance of this tiny detail. If he had failed to seize that opportunity, it would have been a huge blow to Gao Yingji's confidence. If he succeeded, it would certainly strengthen his confidence. Even if Gao Yingji lost later, it wouldn't matter. At the very least, he would know that he was good enough to have a chance at winning. He would know that he had such skill. Gao Yingji's following performance made Wang Jiaxi even more excited. His torrent-like offense made him look utterly fearless. Gao Yingji was clearly doing his utmost to finish the match. Wang Jiaxi obviously wanted to see this type of result. But unfortunately, Gao Yingji's opponent showed why he was an all-star. Taking advantage of the fact that a berserker had higher endurance than a witch and that his character was superior to Kindtree, he relied on patiently whittling down Kindtree in order to defeat Gao Yingji. Wang Jiaxi was still satisfied with the result because he was certain that Gao Yingji could also see that he hadn't lost in skill, but rather because of the difference in character accounts. If Gao Yingji had used Valkyria, the result may have been different. This reasoning wasn't anything complex. The commentator and honored guest pointed this out while they were talking about the results. After a short break, the second round began. Yu Feng had relied on his character's superiority to slowly whittle down his opponent, so he had taken significant damage. Not long after the second match started, he was quickly taken down. Blue Rain's second player fully utilized the small advantage that Yu Feng had been able to set up and defeated his opponent. The third round. Tiny Herb's pillar, team captain Wang Jiaxi took the stage. With his god-level character and skill, he finished off the second Blue Rain opponent without taking much damage. But Blue Rain's third player to take the stage was also their team's ace, Huang Xiaoshan. This sort of match between god-level players was a common occurrence in the group arena. The two teams' strongest players would be their anchor. This type of arrangement was considered an obvious arrangement. This was also the round everyone was looking forward to. The commentator and honored guest hyped up the match. The wait for the third round seemed to be longer than any of the previous rounds. Start. The two sides hadn't even touched each other yet, when a storm of messages attacks. They were only hurrying forward to get to each other. How could Huang Xiaoshan be capable of staying silent? It didn't matter if he was repeating himself as long as they were words. However, trash talk didn't work on everyone. Wang Jiexi was clearly one of those players who wasn't affected by trash talk. He ignored Huang Xiaoshan's messaging attacks and quietly had his Valkyria quickly fly to his opponent's position. Huang Xiaoshan, on the other hand, seemed to have gotten addicted to chatting and didn't hurry to face his opponent. His character had made his way into a side alley. By the time Wang Jiexi found him, it had already been nearly 3 minutes. But once this moment came, the messages abruptly stopped and sword light filled the sky. Wang Jiexi had been on the initiative the entire time, but once the two characters met, Huang Xiaoshan was the first to move. Moreover, he began with the Blade Master's most powerful skill, Formless Phantom Blade. There hadn't been any setup for this skill. But having no setup was actually a perfect cover-up. Wang Jiexi clearly hadn't expected it. At the start, Huang Xiaoshan had been hiding like a cat and seemed to be very patiently waiting. But then he suddenly made such a reckless move. This powerful skill truly caught Wang Jiexi completely unprepared. It hadn't been easy to find Troubling Rain, so when his Valkyria found him, he dove straight down, but was then hit by a gale of sword light. Surprised, Wang Jiexi reflexively responded. Valkyria, which had been diving down, suddenly shot up and turned around in order to try fly away from the danger. However, Troubling Rain's sword light abruptly rose and followed after Valkyria, preventing him from completely escaping. As soon as the sword light touched, Valkyria was chopped down from the sky and engulfed by the dazzling sword lights. Wang Jiexi had taken a huge blow from Huang Xiaoshan's move. Not bad. Yi Shu nodded his head. Hey, Chen Guo felt a bit unhappy with Yi Shu's tone. Even though Yi Shu was his favorite god, Huang Xiaoshan and Wang Jiexi weren't any weaker than him. He was commenting on these same leveled gods like they were noobs. Chen Guo felt annoyed when she heard it. Hey Yi Shu didn't feel it at all. You. Chen Guo said you a bunch of times, but didn't know how to express what she wanted to say. In the end, she changed it to, what do you think? It's only just started. Quote, as soon as Yi Shu finished speaking, the formless phantom blade stopped. The final hit had a strong blow-away effect, knocking Valkyria into a wall. Valkyria was briefly stunned from being knocked into a wall. Troubling Rain was briefly stunned by the ending lag from his powerful skill. Huang Xiaoshan had already calculated these two stun durations. After his stun wore off, his Troubling Rain used a triple slash to quickly close in onto Valkyria. If he really was able to reach Valkyria before the stun was over, then that would be best. But in this type of situation, there was no possibility of it happening. Huang Xiaoshan had done everything he could, but even so, there was a small gap. Wang Jiexi wasn't the type of person to let this go. As soon as the stun wore off, Valkyria rode his broom and rushed straight into the air. But then he heard the sound of a blade whistling through the air. Huang Xiaoshan had forcefully cancelled his triple slash and used a Rising Dragon slash mid-animation. Wang Jiexi's retreat had been predicted by him. Chapter 395, A Dangerous Balance. In a high-skill leveled fight, only looking at mechanics and handspeed wasn't enough to fully appreciate it. In the match with Huang Xiaoshan against Wang Jiexi, the two reads made it look like Wang Jiexi was already going to lose. Rising Dragon Slash split the air as it rose towards Wang Jiexi's retreat path. But this time, Wang Jiexi reacted in time as if he had expected this would happen. Valkyria leapt off his broom and switched directions. He didn't fly out and instead waved his broom twice. The stream of air created by the two waves made Vacaria move a tiny bit. This minuscule movement was enough to cause troubling rain's rising dragon slash to miss, brushing past Vacaria's side and into the air. Huang Shaoshan knew that the situation wasn't good. It seemed like he could see Wang Jiaxi's two disproportionate eyes flashing out a calculating glint despite Vacaria's expressionless system face. This time, he had been caught in Wang Jiaxi's trap. Two crashes sounded in the air and on the ground. Two magic flasks had been shattered one after the other. Acid rained down from the sky and lava burned on the ground. Vacaria turned his broom around and headed towards troubling rain with the witch skill, Broom Tornado. Huang Shaoshan didn't want to take a hit. However, Wang Jiaxi had already calculated all of his possible moves. The two flasks had been thrown down very quickly. That small window of time wasn't enough for Huang Shaoshan to do anything, when the broom tornado flew forward. The huge area of effect magic storm spread out as Wang Jiaxi spun. This skill covered an extremely wide area. Even though Huang Shaoshan wanted to quickly use a falling light blade in order to get to the ground, but just like how Wang Jiaxi had tried to escape from his formless phantom blade before, Huang Shaoshan was swept away. Vacaria's broom slapped him around like a tornado all the way from the air to the ground. The combined damage from the three skills to Huang Shaoshan's troubling rain was greater than the damage from the single powerful skill to Vacaria. Even worse, Wang Jiaxi had the initiative. Being slapped to the ground wasn't the end. Huang Shaoshan didn't have any problems using quick recover. The instant his character hit the ground, his character rolled backwards and then jumped away. Vacaria had to quick recover as well when he hit the ground after using Broom Tornado. If not, he would also crash to the ground. Even though there wouldn't be any fall damage, being knocked to the ground would be a huge opportunity for the opponent. Wang Jiaxi rarely made mistakes for something as basic as this. His character also rolled backwards and jumped away. The two characters' movements looked like they had been rehearsed beforehand. Following afterwards, a sword light flashed from troubling rain, while a black mist rolled out from Vacaria. During the jump backwards, the two players each executed a skill, a sword draw and a shadow cloak. But because the two chose to roll and jump in opposite directions, they instantly pulled away from each other. The two skills both missed, neither side was injured. With the distance between them, the Blade Master didn't have anything he could use. But the witch had a few ways to attack from mid-range. Immediately, magic missiles began shooting towards troubling rain. Huang Shaoshan couldn't do anything to retaliate, so he straight up used a big skill. Troubling rain's silhouette flickered, instantly creating 6 images. He had used the high-leveled skill, Shadow Steps. This skill relied on the controller's experience and technique. Huang Shaoshan was considered to be at the top of Blade Masters. When this skill came out, even Wang Jiaxi couldn't tell which was the real body. If not, then the skill would be completely useless. 6 troubling rains rushed forward. Wang Jiaxi had no way of directly distinguishing the real from the fake, so he could only test them with attacks. However, Shadow Steps was much stronger than the ninja's Shadow Clone technique. The ninja's Shadow Clone was only a clone that didn't move and also only had limited health, so a few attacks was enough to make it disappear. Shadow Steps was different. The afterimages created didn't have health and couldn't be destroyed. However, because they were afterimages, if an attack connected, the attack would go right through the afterimage. By testing each afterimage one by one, the real one could be found. Wang Jiaxi quickly threw out a few mid-ranged magic missiles and immediately figured out 2 afterimages. However, Huang Shaoshan wouldn't be found out so easily. The 6 characters shifted positions with each other in a blur. The commentator and honored guest gasped in amazement. With such complex movements, it was hard to say if Wang Jiaxi could locate which of the 2 afterimages he had tested out. Indeed, Wang Jiaxi had no way of following the 2 targets he had tested out with such movements. But he had known that Huang Shaoshan could do this, so from the very beginning, he had only tried to follow one of the 2 afterimages he had tested out. This was something that he was capable of doing. Next, he did another wave of tests, naturally avoiding that afterimage and only attacking the others. It had to be known that Huang Shaoxun wasn't going to simply get hit by Wang Jiaxi's attacks. He was also constantly dodging. In the end, only one of the magic missiles hit and it hit an afterimage. Wang Jiaxi knew that it wasn't possible to find the real one by testing. An attack towards the real one would definitely be dodged. Huang Shaoxun wasn't stupid. The 2 waves of testing had only figured out 2 afterimages. During this time, the 6 troubling rains were able to envelop Vacaria. The 6 characters maintained a distance away and spun around Vacaria. Which one's the real body? Chen Guo couldn't tell and asked Yi Shu. I don't know either, Yi Shu shook his head. Huang Shaoxun's mastery of shadow steps was already at the peak. However, shadow steps couldn't be used forever. It was only a skill to confuse the opponent. In a match, a victory could only be obtained by killing the opponent. The instant the afterimages faded away, a mass of sword light gathered together. Even though Wang Jiaxi had been extremely careful, he was still hit by the attack. If the attack had missed, then Huang Shaoxun's efforts in using shadow steps would have been for nothing. Who do you think will win? Chen Guo was impatient. She liked to know the result beforehand. Yi Shu slowly shook his head without saying anything. Chen Guo was helpless. She could only continue watching the match. This match between 2 gods was truly spectacular. Finally, those internet cafe customers who had originally been watching Excellent Era's match couldn't help but take a glance at the projection screen from time to time. In the end, everyone became traitors and they all began to watch who would win this match. None of the 2 gods were able to pull a big advantage over the other. The 2 sides fluctuated between who was on the offensive and who was on the defensive, 2 evenly matched adversaries. The health bar on the 2 characters also dropped very equally. It was impossible to tell who would win until the very last moment. Wang Jiaxi has a slightly higher chance of winning, Yi Shu suddenly made a prediction. Why? Chen Guo hastily asked. Wang Jiaxi is good at these types of even matchups. Huang Shaoxun is good at chaotic fights. The more chaotic the fight, the easier it is for him to find opportunities. However, this match is certainly intense, but it isn't chaotic at all. You come I go. The one on the offense and the one on the defense keep switching. It's all very orderly. In other words, if things keep going on like this, Huang Shaoxun isn't going to be able to seize an opportunity to win. If the fight continued at this even pace, in the end, Wang Jiaxi will make the final attack. Yi Shu said. Really? Chen Guo liked to ask, but after asking, she wasn't so sure. Just watch, Yi Shu said. As a result, Chen Guo began to count. This time, Huang Shaoxun was attacking. Next, Wang Jiaxi was attacking. Then, she continued to count all the way until the match was about to end. The 2 sides were both in red blood. Chen Guo had counted all day and had a bit of experience now. Seeing the situation, she gasped in astonishment. It looks like it really is going to go like how you said. Yi Shu stayed silent, staring at the match. Huang Shaoxun doesn't have any hope? Chen Guo asked. She felt a bit disappointing for things to steadily go like this. There is, Yi Shu only said 2 words. What is it? Chen Guo asked. Watch, Yi Shu pointed at the screen with his head, indicating Chen Guo to watch. Chen Guo had been counting the entire time. Now that she looked at the scene, she immediately realized that something wasn't right. It's not right. It should be Huang Shaoxun's chance to attack, why is it? After muttering for a bit, she suddenly realized something and immediately exclaimed, right. He purposefully gave the chance to attack to Wang Jiaxi. This way, he'll be the last person to attack. Chen Guo's excitement had only lasted 3 seconds because she already saw Yi Shu looking down on her. After thinking again, she suddenly understood, the 2 sides only have a certain amount of health. Letting one chance go means that it won't progress in the same way as before. If they go back and forth, Huang Shaoxun will still be the first to die because he'll have lost more health. Huang Xiaoshan only wants to break the even situation, so he intentionally put himself at the disadvantage, Yi Shu finally explained. Putting himself at a disadvantage is an opportunity? Compared to continuing on like that, it's at least a chance. Of course, it's not a good chance. I still believe that Wang Jiaxi will see through Huang Xiaoshan's intent. To be able to direct such a scenario, I think that he has some way of controlling it so that Huang Xiaoshan won't be able to find a way to kill him in one move, Yi Shu said. If Wang Jiaxi wins, then Tiny Herb will have 4 points and Blue Rain will only have 1, Chen Guo calculated.